Hello, and welcome to the 21st episode of Recluse Horror. This is a daily horror movie review podcast. Just a little background on the project. Back in April, on my birthday, I decided that I wanted to watch and review a horror movie every single day. I have done so for the past 288 days, although only the last 21 are podcasts, including this one. So every day, at least until I run out of them, I do one movie that horror movie that I've watched that very day. And I do another one or two that I've reviewed in text previously and just go over any impressions and memories that I have left from watching those movies like almost a year ago. Aided, of course, by the text review. So with me again today is Sam.
Hey.
So today we watched... What did we watch, Samuel?
I don't even know. I don't even know where to begin to say. How's it pronounced?
It's
Call? C-A-L-L? Call?
Yeah, Call.
Call?
Yeah, Call. Uh-huh. Of Cthulhu. So I was wondering whether Cthulhu or Cthulhu was correct in the pronunciation of the word Cthulhu. It is neither. Apparently H.P. Lovecraft's actual pronunciation that he pronounced it was Cthulhu. I will not be saying that for the rest of the episode. So I'm just going to call it Call of Cthulhu, like a normal human being. And
not a Cthulhu? You're not going to say it like a Cthulhu would say
No,
it?
I'm not. My vocal cords, according to that letter that he wrote, my vocal cords are not capable of really saying how it's really pronounced. So I'm just going to bastardize the hell out of it.
Yeah, use the American version.
Yeah.
The American pronunciation instead of the Cthulhu
pronunciation. Yeah. So, so apparently everybody who, gets mad whether some people say Cthulhu or whatever, you're all assholes, and it's really pronounced Cthulhu. So
anybody who pronounces it like that, though, they're not an asshole. No. They're cool.
They're not stuck-up assholes.
They're a cool hero.
Cool heroes. So, as I mentioned, before, basically, H.P. Lovecraft, of course, wrote the story. And Call of Cthulhu has kind of been deemed like a movie that you just can't make. Which I actually, after seeing this, I kind of understand what they're saying with that. Not that this was bad. I did kind of enjoy it. Call of Cthulhu is a little bit hard to synopsize. It's basically about a man trying to investigate this cult of Cthulhu, which is basically a cult that's trying to bring back or just revel in the glory of the coming of this weird interdimensional beast thing. I don't know. Probably everybody knows what it is or has seen it in some capacity, whether they remember it or not. But yeah, I do understand what they're saying about this being a movie hard to really make. Sam, would you agree with that?
I have no idea. I've never read
the story.
Any H.P. Lovecraft.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah, I'll say yeah.
Well, I mean, just the format that it takes. Like, this is supposed to... The 2005... The version that we watched, Call of Cthulhu from 2005, is supposed to be very, very close. I think it was actually funded by the H.P. Lovecraft Historical Society. I'm not positive on that. But it is supposed to be very close to the book as far as, that have been made previously. People who have attempted to adapt it, in other forms. But... yeah, that investigative style and everything is told through dialogue after the fact, and, there's all these, journals and stuff like that.
You've seen, or you've read?
No, actually, I have not, actually. It's not one of the ones that I've read. But, that's the form that it takes. So, I kind of get it. I don't know how much of that stuff is actually from the original, novel, but but it kind of reminds me of Dracula in that way, which is told through, you know, a lot of articles and not interviews really, but like accounts of, you know, people writing in their diaries of things that have happened and so forth. And, you know, they were able to make Dracula out of it because I feel like more happened in Dracula, honestly, than what happens in Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah, I could see that. There's a lot of back and forth, cat and mouse in Dracula.
Yeah.
And I love Dracula.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic.
The what is it, 1921?
No, that would be before.
The one with Bela Lugosi.
Bela,
I can't remember.
yeah.
I can't remember here.
Yeah, because 21 would be before Nosferatu, and it's not silent. So.
No, it's not silent, but it's right off of the silent era.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So this movie actually was made in a silent format, and they did a really good job, I felt like, of presenting it in a way that like you kind of buy. They put a lot of thought and detail into making it a silent film. You know, that all the people are like really heavily made up, like they would have been in silent film era. There's the intertitles and probably not quite as much overacting. I think people would have...
Oh, I think there was a lot of overacting.
Oh, there definitely was, but I mean, I feel like I would have seen it more ratcheted up if it was really made in it. So the reason... no?
Maybe. Some of them, yes. Some of them, no. I don't know. I thought... Even like in silent films, some of them have a lot of overacting.
Oh, very much.
And some of them aren't so much.
Mm-hmm.
I think this kind of had both of those from different actors.
I don't know. I kind of felt most of it was ratcheted down. Maybe I've seen a lot of really overdramatic ones. That's probably true.
I definitely have.
Yeah.
But I've seen some underacted ones.
Mm-hmm. The original story was written in the 1920s. I think it was 1926. So that's why they decided to do the silent format. And honestly, I think it gave them a little bit more free reign to, you know, definitely filming in black and white. You know, you don't have to worry about, you know, certain aspects of things. You don't have to decide colors and try to make a huge palette. And with a movie like this, like having a good palette would definitely have been, something you wanted to pay attention to, or at least I would have wanted to pay attention to. And, you know, filming in black and white, it just takes that completely out of the equation. Did you like that they did it that way, or did you want to see it done, you know, full color, normal?
Well, to me, it feels less like H.P. Lovecraft movie, and more of just a silent, like an homage to a silent movie that just happens to be an H.P. Lovecraft story.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like there's so much emphasis around the movie being H.P. Lovecraft.
Mm-hmm.
And that it should feel a certain way, which I don't know which way that is. Because I've never read any books. I don't think I've ever even seen another movie.
Another actual H.P. Lovecraft?
I guess Reanimator.
Movie? Oh, yeah, Reanimator. Yeah.
It doesn't feel like Reanimator.
No, it doesn't. But Reanimator doesn't feel like H.P. Lovecraft.
If you say so. That's probably the most popular adaptation there is.
It might be. It probably is.
So to me, it didn't ever really, you know, like it didn't feel that way. Like some authors' movies kind of feel a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like this one was meaning to or does.
Mm-hmm.
It feels way more like a lot of homages to silent era and right after horror movies. There's like if I was a little more well versed on like scenes from some of those movies I've seen. Mm-hmm. I could have been naming off like what shots remind me of what, or putting up screenshots. A lot of like The Man Who Laughed. There's a little bit, even though this is a silent movie, King Kong.
Yeah. There is. Definitely, I would say. Cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
Yeah, definitely, especially with like the
Expressionism.
Yeah, the Expressionist.
Yeah, the German is all of the horror scenes where whenever they start to get close to Cthulhu or the cult or Cthulhu Sorry, I decided on a pronunciation
and then immediately went back on it.
Immediately went back on it. I don't care, Cthulhu. But yeah, all of the scenes involving Cthulhu or getting close to the cult of Cthulhu, that's all, all of that is done with, like, German Expressionism,
It was not a German movie either.
No, it's not. I think it's a U.S. film.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. And so, yeah, which is perfect because that was really, really big in the silent era. Even movies that aren't necessarily like a full-on horror vibe often have that. Like, I mean, like I said, like The Man Who Laughs isn't, and that has touches of that. Expressionism, definitely that the carnival and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, which I love, honestly. If you're not familiar with German Expressionism, again, basically all of the sets, it's one continuous set, which is actually really neat. But I'll get into that. The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. There's another pronunciation that people generally say differently. Caligari. Yeah. But it's Italian, so I think it's supposed to be Caligari. But regardless, that set is German Expressionism, the strange, odd angles, but sharpness and all of that. Or something a little more relatable, Beetlejuice.
Yeah, it's very Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice oftentimes has that same style. Or, I mean, I guess this is different, sort of, but like you often find with German Expressionist, like architecture style stuff inside of stuff. They also have a certain look to, like beings. And that reminds me of, The Eye of the Beholder, the Twilight Zone episode. Do you remember what?
I know The Eye of the Beholder.
Yeah. Okay. Would you agree that that's sort of expressionist? No, I'm talking to you.
Yeah, in parts, not
completely,
because that's just like a hospital room, but.
No, I'm talking about the people.
Oh, yeah, the people, even the shots in that.
Yeah.
Even
there are some shots.
The hospital shots have a hint of
deep shadows.
Yeah, have a hint of the filming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, all of the horror scenes are like that in Call of Cthulhu, so, this movie. I thought they did, I thought they did a very nice job of like trying to keep up on details. All of the hospital stuff was all outdated, like all of their sets were sort of on the sparse side, which was sort of more common and definitely works with that sort of architecture and stuff. The lighting was good. There was one of the... Oh, yeah, and they used a lot of old-timey effects, too.
Yeah, like, really nice.
They used a lot of fog in this, which is unsurprising, but if you're familiar with different types of ways that you make fog for film or theater, it was clear that in at least a lot of the scenes, I wasn't positive it was every scene, but they used the dry ice fog, which has this particular way of, like, sticking to the ground, and it's a certain... what would you call that? It's a certain, I would say consistency, but it's not consistency. It's a certain way it holds itself together.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know there's a word for it, and I'm not getting it, but like, but yeah, some of it.
Consistency.
That's what I said, but I don't think that's the right. It's not the right word. But it's a very particular, like, if you know different types of fog, you can usually tell when you're seeing dry ice fog, which is probably what they would have been using at the time. I don't think they had very many other methods unless they were using like
smoke.
Yeah, smoke. That
was which I have seen.
Yes, they do sometimes use smoke. But they didn't have all of these theatrical fog juice and all of that stuff that they had to pull from. So it was really neat that they, who's going to notice that? Well, I noticed it. So pretty great. Good on you. What else did you want to talk about? Did you enjoy the acting?
Yeah, I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I thought so too. Definitely, again, I thought it was a little underplayed in some of the parts. The parts that I felt like should have been overacted, I didn't feel like they necessarily were overacted as much as I wanted them to be. Mm-hmm. But I think they also were cognizant of not trying to overdo it and go like past what a real...
Yeah, I feel like they're trying to keep it from seeming cheesy.
Yeah.
And I think they did a really good job with that.
Yeah.
It is, I think, feel like some of the silent movies suffer from as a modern audience, is how cheesy some of the overacting is.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes movies that would probably have more weight feel a little cornier. And I think they're probably trying to compensate for that.
Yeah. I did think that they did a pretty good job of like, again, like playing authenticity rather than, I mean, it takes a couple of minutes to really get into the feel of it, but I did feel like it was cognizant again of like not trying to be, necessarily hyperbolic or, too self-aware, I think, of what it was trying to be and all of that. I think it did a pretty good job of playing the line of like, this is honestly what we think this movie would have kind of looked like if they had made it back in 1926. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's very awesome at replicating the silent era style.
Without really poking fun too much.
I don't think it poked fun at all.
Yeah.
Anything that might seem funny is probably something legitimately they did all the time, and maybe they even lessened.
Yeah, a little bit.
And this from the silent era of filmmaking.
So, what did you think of Cthulhu?
That was probably one of my biggest problems. A few shots, it didn't look great.
Yeah.
That's all.
Did you like the style that they chose to go with? Like how they were going to represent it? Like not the physical look, because it always looks the same these days.
Yeah, just the way it was brought to life.
Yeah.
I didn't mind it. I just thought it didn't look
as good as it could have.
As good as it could have in certain shots. Some shots I really liked it. It's not huge in the movie, so it's kind of like... Yeah,
that was my problem with it, was that I didn't feel like Cthulhu was really in it too much. There was, 15, small. 20 seconds of screen time? Probably a little more.
This is a low-budget movie, and it's only 45 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny, too, because if you look on the internet, there's, like, 5 different lengths that they say it has, so I don't know what length it was supposed to be. The one that we saw was, like, 47 minutes. And I think that's the length that... The one that... Like, I think that's the one that you're supposed to watch. I don't know. Maybe I don't even know. Well, because there was another Call of Cthulhu movie that came out the same year.
But it's a different movie.
But it's a different movie, so maybe they're just confusing the two of them. I don't know. Even though one of them, they usually have the poster of the correct one. So, I don't know. I don't even know. Yeah, was there anything else you wanted to talk about?
Just who might like it. Director. Didn't do anything else, really.
No. Okay.
Most everybody involved in this didn't do anything else. I actually really enjoyed it, and I was really hoping maybe there was something else from the director.
Yeah.
That had a similar feel. I'd be interested in seeing it. I think there was one other movie, I can't remember the name of it, but but I'm sure it's super small budget, just like this is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know why this movie exists.
Again, I think that the Historical Society wanted to put it together.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Other than that, just maybe who might want to see this weird movie.
Yeah. Well, obviously any kind of H.P. Lovecraft fan, but they probably...
I don't think that.
You don't think so?
Yeah, because H.P. Lovecraft fans are usually fucking assholes. And nothing ever is good enough for whatever blah blah book that was made.
I mean, that's not wrong.
Yeah, I know that's not wrong. So I don't think they would enjoy it. I think they would just be like, oh, well, it should be more this way, or Nine Inch Nails wasn't in it enough. Or some shit like that. Where was Trent Reznor?
I think literary fans of H.P. Lovecraft, and not necessarily...
Nah, because they just want to read the dumb old books. That's for nerds.
Oh my God.
But I think more for silent era fans.
Yeah.
People who enjoy stuff like that. I this movie is basically King Kong but silent, made in 2005.
Yeah.
It's basically what this movie is.
Yeah, it is. But instead it's about Cthulhu.
Which is pretty amazing to think.
Yeah.
Because it's totally... the original King Kong, so good.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
That was the first silent film I saw probably when I was like 10.
Well,
and I loved it.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
It's not silent.
Yeah, King Kong isn't silent, so...
Yeah, but it's coming off the silent era.
Yeah.
It feels a lot like a silent film.
Yeah.
Even in the breaks of no dialogue.
Yeah. Oh, and there's plenty of those. Yeah.
But anyway, point being, it's very similar in style and feel. It's so interesting that they recreated such a feel in 2005.
Yeah.
No, I really enjoyed it, but I'm a fan of that type of stuff.
That era of cinema.
It's like if you didn't enjoy the original King Kong, there's no way you would like this.
That's true. I think fans of like Dracula and maybe not Poe. I feel like if you actually read Poe and you're not just like, quote the Raven, nevermore, blah blah blah, like, then you might enjoy it. Literary nerds, I think horror literary nerds would be into this. Again, it definitely has a feel sort of like Dracula. If you've ever read the actual book, it's told sort of in a similar manner, but on screen. I've actually seen a really, really good stage adaptation of Dracula, that, unfortunately it was made by the artistic director of a theater, and I don't know if I know it's gotten play other places, but I don't know if it's huge, but it's like the closest that I've ever seen to like actually feeling the book, like coming to life on stage. I've never seen a version of the movie that really did it very well. I've never seen another stage version of it that's been done very well. And this is kind of what I feel like this, again, and I haven't read Call of Cthulhu, but this is what I feel like they're doing. Like, this is as close as you're going to get to experiencing the book on screen as you can get. Again, there are some changes. I won't tell you what they are, in case you want to just watch it. But there's only 2 or 3 things that when I looked it up, that they said were different. And they're sort of on the minor side. I felt like one sounded pretty major, but again, without having read the story, it's hard to say. But yeah, again, if you're interested in silent film, stuff, German Expressionism, if you're a literary horror nerd, I mean, that's really all I can think of, Yeah,
I think it was really good. I wish I could recommend it to a wide audience of people, but I know there's probably just a ton of people who would, it being silent would make them not want to watch it. It being black and white would make them not want to watch it.
Yeah.
But it's awesome for anybody who is into that.
Right.
There's so much there, and so much if you've seen other movies in the same vein, this movie kind of picks up on and adds to it's very cool and good in that way.
Oh gosh, I had another. Oh, if you're looking for something that feels H.P. Lovecraft that isn't H.P. Lovecraft, but it's a movie, and it's the closest thing to seeing like a Lovecraftian sort of story on screen that I feel like I've seen in a while. There's a movie that we watched, and I'll review it eventually, called, because I did in text already, but it's called The Void, and it is really, really good. The visuals are incredible. The story is interesting and very Lovecraftian. But it's not based on Lovecraft. I was so convinced that this was Lovecraft, that this was some adaptation, maybe not a close adaptation necessarily, but an adaptation of Lovecraft, that I looked up to make sure that it wasn't before I did my review. Like, that's how much of the similar feel that it had, and it was really good. You saw it too, right? You liked it?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that's another recommend. If you were looking for Lovecraft and you were hoping this was more of a, like, eldritch horror, like, big production sort of thing. Again, Cthulhu isn't really in this for more than maybe a couple of minutes, unfortunately. And, which I think is true to the story as well. But again, if you're looking for that sort of visual style, and, sort of storytelling method, try The Void. I think it's from 2008, but I'm probably wrong. Anything else?
Nope.
Okay. That's our review of Call of Cthulhu from 2005. Cthulhu. So back when I started this project, I did a thing for a while called Silent Sunday, and today is Sunday. So I decided the movie that we would pair with this one, that's why we chose to watch Call of Cthulhu today, because I knew it was a silent version of it. But the reason why I watched it was because of that. And I decided I would do my review of The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari from 1920 to pair with this, both because it was actually the next one on the list a few days ago, but I kept skipping it because we were doing, movies that I didn't feel like were a good fit for that. And today it is. So yeah, this will be the review of The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. Unfortunately, as far as silent films go, there are only so many horror films that it still exist, at least,
or even horror films at all. The idea of horror was
very different. Yeah, and that's what I kept finding when I was watching these horror movies. I mean, again, The Man Who Laughs, the first one that I watched, was not a horror movie.
And this isn't that much of a horror movie either.
This is way more, though.
Way more, but compared to horror
these days,
modern horror, even a few years later.
Yeah, this would be like a suspense drama, or maybe something thriller drama today.
Well, probably the imagery is really the only thing that makes it horror.
Yeah. So, unsurprisingly, this film was great. To me, I thought it was great. It's been called the most influential film in history, the quintessential example of German Expressionism, and even the first true horror film. I have no idea whether that's true, actually. It's been imitated and paid tribute to and inspired countless films, most notably every single Tim Burton film ever made. Conrad Veidt, who, again, we saw in The Man Who Laughs, he played, oh my goodness, his name, Gwynplaine. That's Gwynplaine. I thought I forgot it and I was going to cry because I love that movie. But yeah, in this, he stars as Cesare, it's his most well-known performance, certainly, and he's very good at it. But, so, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, again, some people pronounce it Caligari or Caligari or whatever.
I pronounce it Calgary.
Calgary, like the city in Canada.
Caligari.
Yeah. But again, it's supposed to be an Italian name, so it should be Caligari. It's about a man that sets up a sideshow act at a fair in which he shows off a somnambulist, which is a sleepwalker, that he claims can predict the future for some reason. Shortly after they arrive, a murder is committed, one that Cesare foretold in, the sideshow. So, now, one unfortunate part about watching old movies, and especially really influential movies, is that they can sometimes feel a little tired. All of the themes and visuals and storytelling of this movie have been imitated just ad nauseum. So if you can't sort of divest yourself from feeling that way, this may not be a very good pick for you. It's gorgeous, it's well told, and it's very nicely paced, but it certainly doesn't feel as revolutionary and groundbreaking as I assume it must have in 1920. Would you agree, do you think, that some modern... I mean, if you can't...
I could see somebody saying that.
Yeah.
They would kind of be dumb.
They would be.
But I could see that being like, oh, I've seen this a bunch of times.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, this
it's because of this movie
is why you've seen it a bunch of times.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I see your argument
mm-hmm.
that people are kind of dumb, but...
People are kind of dumb. I'm just trying to get people to watch silent films. Come on. So...
Good luck on that.
I mean, it's super great, and you should always watch it, and you should never stop. Just watch them. So yeah, I mean, some people may have trouble with that. I didn't. I was enamored with this movie. So again, the acting in this is quite overacted. It's just the style that you have to associate with silent films. You've probably seen even if you've never seen a silent film, you've probably seen it mimicked in something. But I haven't seen this film was more overacted than I had seen in any other silent film that I had seen by the point that I first watched this. I think I've seen some stuff now that rivals it, probably, but at the time, this was the most overacted. And I really like that, honestly. I thought it was great. The facial expressions are all extraordinarily exaggerated, wild-eyed, and I quite like that style, personally. It makes a lot of sense for a movie with no speech, and, this one actually doesn't really even have very many intertitles, and those are the cards that tell you, what's happening and, portray dialogue in silent films. What did you feel about the facial expressions and
They're great.
the acting?
They're super good.
Mm-hmm. Again, Conrad Veidt is incredible. Cesare, like I said, he's the somnambulist. He's the sleepwalker. So he's the one that you always see whenever you see clips of this movie. He's the one with the dark hair, and the wild eyes, like I said. It's a really great performance, though he wasn't in as much of the film as I kind of thought he would be, right?
Kind of a Dr. Frankenstein situation, right?
Yeah, Frankenstein versus Dr. Frankenstein.
They'd be like, oh, there's Calgary.
Yeah.
With the white eyes.
Yeah.
And you'll be like, no, that's the other guy.
Yeah.
That's Calgary's monster.
Calgary's monster.
Right. So it's the situation we're talking about, right?
Yeah, Dr. Caligari's monster? Yeah. So, again, everybody's, very heavily made up, especially Cesare, as is really common in expressionist films, and really silent films in general. It was very hard. Light is very different when you're working with, that sort of film equipment and stuff. So if you wanted to see people's eyes and mouths and stuff, then they put on extra thick makeup so that they would actually appear on screen, even if they weren't close to the camera. And you'll see plenty of that here. The costumes and sets add to the expressionist style as well, of course. Again, if you're not familiar with the style, think Beetlejuice for sets. And Edward Scissorhands, is Cesare. 100% lifted him from Cesare, which is fine.
I was going to say Robert Smith.
Yeah, Robert Smith from The Cure is definitely, he's got a huge Cesare vibe. It's great. So the camera work in this was very straightforward. All of the angles are pretty much dead on, and they're in a fixed position most of the time. The sets really seem to cover for this, which are painted in stark contrasts, and constructed at really odd angles. Again, that expressionist style, that draw your eye as much as the over-the-top performances of the actors. The sets are really incredible in this. And I think I mentioned it before, but it's one continuous set. There's a model of it in, oh god, where's that museum? Is it in Sweden or Germany?
I don't know. I've never been.
It's in Europe, but they have a scale model, I think possibly the original scale model of the set, and you can see where okay, if you run around this part of the set, you get to this part of the set, and then you come back around here, and then there's this. But it's really neat to see. You can find pictures of it online. I think there's actually even a video of somebody going to the museum and showing all the different places from it. So, definitely look it up if you're interested. But it's really neat. The set is really neat. And then, if you go back and look at clips from the show, you can see how they're, anyway, doing all of that. One thing that's very curious about the movie is the way that they refer to Cesare as a somnambulist. Somnambulist, rather. The symptoms he's showing are basically unrelated to sleepwalking, which is something that I think would have been known even at that time. There's another disorder that makes more sense, but I'm not really sure if it was known at the time. Really trying to chase logic in this film is unproductive. It has the sort of ignorance of the sciences that I find very charming in movies, before maybe the late 50s or so. But yeah, did you find that strange at all, that what he's doing isn't really, he's kind of sleeping, but I've never known a sleepwalker to tell the future successfully.
Let me back up on your question. So you're asking me if I found the idea that this guy could tell the future when he was sleepwalking weird in this movie? No, it made perfect sense within the movie. I don't understand the question.
Yeah. I guess
it's kind of a logicless movie. Is what was my point.
Yeah. But even back then, I think they would have known. This is.
I'm sure they did know. I'm just saying the movie's a crazy movie. The movie's kind of about dreams, and it kind of feels like a dream.
It does. Yeah.
I think that probably had to do with something. I'm sure they probably could have come up with more sound science even for the time. But they also I don't know when this movie is supposed to take place. It wasn't supposed to take place modern day. It's
in the 20s?
Yeah, I think it's takes place further in the past. that might have been a common superstition or something
Maybe.
of that nature. I couldn't tell you, but
that's true. I guess it didn't really feel 20s modern.
Yeah, I didn't really worry about the logic in it.
Yeah, well,
it's not that kind of movie.
It to me, it never even really occurred to me before that like it would take place in a time period. Like you said, so much of it feels like a dream. That like
a lot of silent movies don't take place in the 20s.
True.
I've noticed that, and I think that has to do with the world's wanting of escapism at the time.
Yeah, just after World War I.
And that was a big cinema was a big escape for people in that way.
Yeah. I just, like you said, it felt like a dream. I was in the middle of that, but it had such a dreamlike quality that just the thought that it would be a part of any specific time period is sort of, like, it just seems like it takes place almost in another universe. Yeah, which is weird because it doesn't do anything that you couldn't find in this universe other than the weird
I don't know. It feels like it just picks and chooses what it wants to use and not use it without really questioning the logic of itself.
Yeah. So the ending wasn't really what I expected, but it was very interesting. I knew a lot about this film before I had seen it, but the things that I didn't know were really pleasant surprises, of course, for the most part, at least. The final numbers of the film, the final minutes of the film can be interpreted in many different ways, but it just makes the film feel sort of intriguing rather than, sort of unfinished, like you can get in sometimes when you leave things, sort of ambiguous at the end. How did you like the ending?
Yeah, I really like the ending.
Okay. So, yeah, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about? I mean,
not. There's not too much I can say. I really like the movie.
Yeah.
Like the last one. If you're not into
silent films,
silent horror films, you probably wouldn't get anything out of it.
Yeah.
But I love the theme of like sleeping and dreams.
Yeah.
And waking from that. It's it's really thoughtful, the movie.
Yeah.
Probably, one of the most thoughtful movies in that respect about sleeping and waking that I've ever seen. But no, I think the movie's great. I'm way into it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I mean, if you're a fan of, expressionist art, obviously this is, but you have to have seen this if you're into expressionism. If you like silent films, you've probably already seen this as well. If you're into horror and you've never really given, much thought to watching silent films, there may be a couple that you might enjoy a little more, but this isn't a terrible place to start. I do believe this one, I forgot to check, but I think it's it's out of copyright date, which if that's true, then you should be able to find copies of it online for free from YouTube or something like that. That you can watch. And there's a lot of different versions. I know some of them have been colorized. I personally try to stay away from those. If they weren't part of the original thing, the way it was originally. Sometimes they tint stuff. I don't believe this one was originally tinted, but yeah, it's been restored and so forth. And, yeah, it's a really good film. I can't think of anybody other than that who would be interested in it. I think there's a certain niche market that are still into silent films, and I don't think very many people step into that.
I feel like if you're interested in seeing where some design aspects of a ton of things of originated. Well,
definitely early filmmaking if you're interested in that.
You can watch this, maybe you wouldn't like it, but you'd be interested in the visuals.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of Batman stuff is taken seemingly directly from this.
Yes.
A lot The Crow, any sort of post-goth modern type of imagery is heavily taken influenced and taken from this movie. Even if you don't care about silent films, you might want to just look at it in that light.
for the aesthetic.
I don't know, like to me, it's like a super good movie, but I could see people not enjoying it.
Cesare's really hot. Is that, like, a draw for people? That's probably a draw for people. He's really hot, especially if you're into, like, you know, skinny-ass,
oh, there you say The Cure.
Goth dudes. Yeah.
If you're into The Cure.
Or Robert Smith from The Cure. If you're into him, but, like, half his size, there you go. I don't know how tall he is. I think he's taller than Robert Smith, though. I don't know. He's skinny. He's like a string bean. But hot. A hot string bean. Yeah, I don't know. There's not really...
Yeah, there's not a ton.
Without getting to specifics about the story and dissecting that, which I'm just
not
going to do.
It's
I could spend hours on that. But yeah, there's so much. There's so much there. Well, that's kind of why I was trying to go into the thing about the somnambulist, because there's nothing else that I can say without
going way into the story. And it's not like a very complicated story, but we'd be talking about plot points.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's hard. It's hard for me. Like, I would like to recommend this to everybody.
Yeah.
But I know that's not
something
everybody... I don't believe it's
something that
most people would really gravitate towards.
Yeah, unfortunately. If you think you can stomach it, please try it. Check it out. It's really good. Or if, you know, you happen to see... If you have an independent movie theater where you are that's playing, a free screening, sometimes they do that. I know they usually do it in the summer, and this is not the summer. But yeah, I mean, if you see a screening somewhere or somebody invites you to go see it, consider checking it out. It is really interesting, and, maybe you'll just have fun sitting with your friend doing something, so. Yeah. So that's our review of, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. Did you have anything else?
No.
Okay. Conrad Veidt, please come back to life and, like, marry me or something. Yeah, so I think that's our show. Yeah, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this, please share it with your friends or whatever, or like, comment, subscribe, whatever it is on whatever site you found it, do the things. If you'd like to reach out to me on social media, I am on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, like, I don't know, probably a couple of others that I never remember to say, at Recluse Horror for all of those, pretty much. And if you found us on a platform that you don't enjoy, or you want to share it with somebody, who doesn't have the same platform as you, I am on iTunes, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, YouTube, and any other number of them. The show is put out every day on YouTube as well, which I know is where some of the people that are listening are coming from. So if you're watching it on YouTube, thank you. I kind of figured out how to streamline the process. I know on YouTube, I put up a video basically saying, like, I'm probably not going to put those up at the same time as I put up the other ones, just because it's more time consuming, but I've kind of streamlined the process, and it takes like an extra 5 minutes because I do it in the right order now. Sam's really interested in this whole conversation, isn't he?
TubeU.
TubeU?
Addict, Stitcher.
Mm-hmm.
PodTube.
PodTube. PodTube.
UPod and Pod Addict.
Yeah.
I give the movie 10 out of 10 proto hot topics.
10 out of 10 proto hot topics.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Okay. Yeah, I give it, I guess, like 15 Conrad Veidts. I'm into it. It's not as many as I would have given The Man Who Laughs, but it's up there. Yeah, so I guess that's it. Thank you so much for listening. Samuel, did you have anything that you wanted to tell the fellas over here?
It's weird. It's just a weird thing to say. No, hey, bye.
What about the ladies?
Also, bye.
What about everybody else?
Them too.
Yeah.
Talk to you later.
Bye-bye. Say goodbye, Samuel.
Bye.
Bye.
Talk to you later.
Say goodbye.